Okay, let's get started.
Just raise your glasses high. This one's sweet.
Amy.
Riley.
Amy, it's so good to see you. Thank you for coming to my home.
We're absolutely thriving today.
This is good. It's Wednesday for us when we record, Thursday for everybody else, and Amy and I are having one of the best weeks of our life, wouldn't you say?
On par with the greatest.
It's like, yeah, this is such a good time, and you know, Turtle Time is doing so good, and so we want to say thank you so much for listening to us. Amy, how the hell are you feeling today?
Pretty good. How about you?
I feel good. I feel really good. I'm so glad that you're at my home and that we're recording together again.
Do you think your week is going better or worse than Jax's week?
Probably, mine's probably, I guess, better, right? There's probably a lot more hate or not hate, but Jax is probably going through it a little bit more than me.
I can't decide if he feels that this week is good or bad for him.
I think good. I think if I can peek into Jax's mind, I think he's having that full relief, like a big surge of relief that he, told the truth about something in his mind.
So if you're living under a rock, which I'm assuming most of you saw this already, but Jax was on the Hot Mic podcast with Alex Baskin, who he's like really ripping those episodes out.
He's killing. Oh my God.
And they're pretty good.
Yeah, he's a great interviewer. I think we've already complimented him before, but he's amazing. And it was such a good idea for Bravo to create their own podcast, to get all of these exclusives and not let Turtle Time or Nick Vial or anyone else get them. Like Alex Baskin gets all the scoops. It's like a pure ecosystem loop that they've got. And
it feels like they're allowed to say more on there because it's sanctioned, and it's like going back to the mothership rather than when they're doing it elsewhere. And they're like, oh, I don't know if I should say this. You know?
Right. And then Alex Baskin can be like, oh, no, that's a little too far. Like that's a peek behind the curtain a little too much. I'll just edit that out. But he did let Jax, in this interview, I felt like he gave us little fourth wall breaks and peeks behind the curtain. But yeah, it's an amazing success. I mean, you sent me a clip of Erica Jane on Bravo Hot Mic that was so fun. He just knows them all so well. He knows what's going to be entertaining. He also knows the ins and outs and behind the scenes, so he can ask the right questions. And then it contributes to the Bravo universe by getting us amped up for the Valley and all that shit.
Totally. So yeah, his big reveal was that he's been an addict for 20 years. He said coke, and he said he didn't quite have a problem with alcohol, but they're kind of self-perpetuating, so he had to cut both.
Yeah, he said after about the second beer, he would be searching around for a bag of coke.
Right.
So he had trouble, getting coke out of his life if he still was casually drinking as well. So he had to cut both. But yeah.
I mean, I know the wide response was my jaw stayed firmly in place, like color me not shocked. And I, of course we talk about it all the time, like recapping Vanderpump, like he's on coke in like allegedly like every episode. Like it's clear that he has a storied history with that for sure. But I honestly, I wouldn't have been positive that he was still up to those shenanigans today.
Yeah, that was the revelation for me. Well, two things. First, that he would admit that, it was an addiction.
Yeah.
I could have imagined that, maybe he was a heavy user in his 20s and 30s, I guess, when we were watching Vanderpump
Rules.
We
didn't even know him in his 20s.
Right, no, we never even saw what the hell he was up to in his 20s. Oh my God, could you imagine if we had cameras back then? But so him calling it an addiction was definitely newsworthy to me, and how frequent he still relies on coke at 45. I would have thought that as a dad and as a husband that it might have just dissipated a little bit, that cocaine use, maybe one or two occasional bumps every couple of weeks or something. But he's saying it was very consistent cocaine usage.
How
for
did his
20 years.
sinuses survive?
I don't know. That's experimental stuff to do cocaine for 25 years. I mean, everyone's been lying about the negative effects of coke.
Like,
No, I'm just
we
kidding.
know that he has gotten multiple rhinoplasties, which, like, I feel like every time you go in, there's like, you're using up a little something. So I'm like, how does he not have a hole in his face?
I don't know, but people were also saying that, yeah, in his frequent nose jobs, some of them might have been due to the fact that he continued to do cocaine
Yeah.
and he wouldn't let his nose grow back
Right.
to its proper.
That was sort of implied at the time. Remember that time that Andy was asking him about, he didn't even ask him, but Jax preemptively was like, "Are you asking me if I do cocaine?"
Yeah.
And Sandoval was like, "He wasn't asking you that, bro." And then Andy's like, "Well, are you?"
Yeah. So there's so many allusions to or people mentioning that Jax might be doing coke behind the scenes. And ultimately, no matter what, I mean, I guess there's people are divided or there's two thoughts that
Mhm.
can run concurrently. Everyone is probably proud of Jax that he admitted this. That's a huge thing to say.
Mhm.
I've been doing coke. I mean, in his mind, he's saying, I've been doing coke for 20 years. Like, that is a huge admission to tell the whole world. Coke is one of the most maligned substances in the world. People, you know what I mean?
It's what do you call that? Like class A or something? Like, it's
Yeah,
like a harsh.
yeah, and it's also just no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to admit to it, but it's so much more prevalent than you imagine. So just that admission, I'm sure, freed him up a lot.
Well, especially in 2025, like, bitch, be careful.
I know.
He better have his little test kit. I know we talk about this all the time, but I'm like, we can't be messing around these days.
I think about that every time I see people ripping lines at bars and stuff that I go to, when I hear them huffing coke in the bathrooms. I'm like, oh my God, I hope to God you're testing the shit out of that with
Yeah.
fentanyl test strips. So it's a risky endeavor, ripping coke. But the two thoughts are, oh my God, good for him. That's a good first step. We kind of knew that, but admitting that you have an addiction is a huge deal. And definitely cutting out coke and alcohol is going to help
Yeah.
Jax. But then also people say, they're like, okay, well, also there's the whole Jax, like, I'm a work in progress. This is the new me. Call me Jason. Slash, like, even now in this new iteration, he already starts to discount the first rehab treatment that he did, which we heard after the first one.
Yeah.
He was a new person, and he was like, that was it, 17 days. I'm killing it right now. I got out. And then all immediately in this new interview, he's like, oh no, that wasn't long enough. Now I really am thinking about the second rehab. And so a lot of people are saying, are you trying to get ahead of potentially what is going to take place on the Valley too? And let us know, so while we're watching, that Jax is now much more healed than whatever disastrous shit he was doing in the Valley season 2.
Plus, there's the divorce isn't final. There's like custody. So I think it's stuff. I mean, that you could say that it's because he does like child support and stuff like that. Like, at the same time, I'm like, it's not bad to want to take the right steps to make sure you get custody. Like, even though if you listen to it and you know him, you're still like, it's giving the Karen Huger path where you're like, you still don't get it. Like, he was ranting about that. He did say that addiction is a disease, but then he said that it's not about the substance, it's about an underlying issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, first of all, like, I don't think you're educated enough to talk about this. And second of all, I'm like, it's so just like every third sentence he said, I was like, ding, like, wrong.
Yeah, true. He's definitely he is learning about all of this stuff for the first time, so.
And I'm pretty sure he said that he also left early the second time.
I think so too, because Alex Baskin was saying, he was like, and why did you also leave, earlier this time? And he was like, I needed a little reset or something. I mean, I'm not, I guess people get frustrated with Jax because it's not that, it's so obvious that he was also dealing with that, and that he said this so many times before, but then it just doesn't discount that an undercurrent of everything we knew about Jax was potentially this underlying addiction. And then at least he admits also that the rage is there. He says he's bipolar 2, which I don't know what that diagnosis means. But all of this stuff is good because the previous iterations of Jack saying I'm a work in progress, he never acknowledged any of those things except like I'm going to be nicer to people or whatever.
Yeah.
So if these are the gradual steps Jax needs to make, it sounds like even every iteration he didn't ever take out the alcohol and coke part of this thing, or have a consistent therapeutic aspect to it, which it seems like he's acknowledging more. But then also, Brittany is the best metric to judge Jax's growth by, and she had a pretty bitter is probably not the right word, but like a pretty emphatic statement that this is still possibly not the healed Jax, right? The statement was just saying that
basically I'll believe it when I see it. He's done irreparable harm to me and my son.
Yeah.
Like she's like pissed.
Yeah. And it's and I totally understand. Obviously, everyone understands. And like Jax in this interview, he's like, oh my God, he's like, I'm doing everything I can. I did it. I'm doing the therapy and stuff. But like Jax doesn't understand what he did that made Brittany, who was one of the most sympathetic people in the world, who tolerated so much shit for you, the fact that she got to this point where she had to write you off means that she's held back so much rage and hurt and sadness. And so she's dealing with this, the fact that her husband could not get his shit together to the point where this is now how he's trying to tackle these things. I fully understand in every way her sadness and frustration
and
still
he
with
still
Jax.
threw her under the bus for
did.
hooking up with his friend.
He
I'm
goes,
like, maybe now is not the time to
What's the
like
guy?
attack her.
He keeps saying,
Julian?
He goes, Julian. He goes, she was cheating, or not cheating. She was dating my friend Julian. I was like, do you think this guy Julian, who we don't know, likes being
I'm like, guess
referenced?
what? I don't give a fuck. He's like, he was coming to the bar, and I had no idea they were hooking up or whatever.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, he said that he also is addicted to texting females.
Oh my God.
Which I love when he calls women females.
Totally. He said I would go down the roster, and this kind of makes it all. It's so Vanderpump Rules is so rich that each new thing we learn informs all of the past, and like we even got new scoops about Vanderpump Rules behind the scenes about this. But this is exactly what he did with Faith.
Yeah.
He needed validation. Him and Brittany were not doing good at that point, and he just went down his Twitter DMs or whatever, and Faith had DM'd him at one point, and he goes, "I love you, Faith. I want to have sex with you
he
so
did
bad."
name check her in the interview.
He totally did. So we're seeing a glimpse, and I don't think he's ever acknowledged that he needed so much validation from women, even though it's sometimes apparent that that's the case. But and then he said he ran through his list, texting everyone saying, "I want to have sex with you so bad. I've always secretly loved you." I mean, imagine the shit that he says, ripped off coke and alcohol.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten more like leaked, like Jax pest texts.
Yeah, very.
Because you would think that the people that get those are like this fucking guy.
Maybe he immediately sends a quick NDA as his first DM or text message, and then he doesn't text you back until
Response
you've done
counts as signature.
It says one of the, what are those things that we send? Tap backs.
back.
It says heart if you fully sign.
Ha
Thumb.
ha if no.
Ha if you'd like to only proceed with no sexual text, just fun stuff.
Yeah, he did say again. He goes, "I'm a broken man," and I'm like, he is the definition of cried wolf. Like we've been hearing this for a decade, and it's like he also like sort of was backtracking throughout. So like he was talking about how seriously he was taking the rehab, but then he said that he left early both times. Like he said he learned the lesson the first time, but then he also left early the second time. He said that he wants to get drug tested, but then like a minute later he said that Brittany requested that he get drug tested.
Oh, he did? I thought he just said, I'm going to send them to her, but I didn't know that he said that Brittany requested
He was like,
that.
I'm doing everything she's asking of me.
Yeah.
But I am like, now that you've said it out loud, you will be judged by the public.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it is a big step to say I'm an addict, because although he said he's Cali sober, but I defended Carl's right to do that. So I have to stand by that or whatever. And at least I'm like, you're not going to rage out on weed probably. So that's fine, I guess. But it's just like, I don't know. It just seems all very messy still.
Yeah.
And I'm almost like maybe, well, he said what, 83 days clean?
Yeah, which I'm like, wow, like I had no idea that this transformation was happening for
Mhm.
the last however many days, 3 months or whatever.
He's like, oh yeah, I still have to do all my events because yeah, he owns a bar. And he's like, I'll just drink Celsius and eat like a lettuce bowl.
Yeah, he was just eating salads. He said the hardest test for him was at the Super Bowl at Jax's Studio City. He was just sitting in a corner drinking Celsius and having a big salad.
Yeah, but he did say since he has such an obsessive personality that he's like, now I'm obsessed with fitness, which we saw in
Mhm.
what, season 8,
Yeah.
when he was addicted to going to the gym and Brittany was like, what the fuck is going on with
Yeah.
you went 3 times today.
I mean, that's not good either.
No.
Even though people say it's like, oh, this is a healthy outlet. Like, I eat salad now every day and I work out. It's like, whatever, it's still, there's some root thing.
Yeah.
Whatever that validation is or the insecurity is or the ego, it's still, it's manifesting in that.
Right.
In the fitness and working out. And at a certain point, that will stop giving you positive benefit. So but I think he's finally acknowledging it. And then the worst, and then I think I kind of appreciated what he said about the things that led him to seek help. But I know that when we watch those on the Valley, our blood is going to curdle and we're going to be like, oh my God, this is absolutely, this is indefensible behavior. And that's why he's warning at the end of the interview. He goes, please, please don't judge me until the very end. And it's like, oh my God, because he's acknowledged that he's screaming at Brittany with Cruz
Yeah.
in the car. And imagine if you had that footage where you saw a dad screaming at the top of his lungs about cheating or
Yeah.
sleeping with someone else, and you see a 4-year-old or 3-year-old in
Yeah.
the back seat while the mom is getting berated, and then we know that he is going to rip the TV down off the wall, and he goes, thank God Cruz was upstairs. But it's like, that is not at all that doesn't help the situation. The fact that Cruz was upstairs while
No.
you're destroying.
It's gonna be horrifying. And like, I'm not gonna play the like, why did Brittany stay? Because
No.
that's not how it works. But just knowing, because we're watching in slow motion season 6, like, he cheated on her. She had always claimed if he did, she would leave. She doesn't. Like, there's so much more to come on
Mhm.
what she swallowed about his behavior, that now knowing that it's been going on this long and was this bad, like even worse than we thought, and all the while on camera him berating her about her drinking when he's still like ripping lines, and then
Yeah.
having like coke withdrawal rage
Yeah.
the next day, and he has the gall to be like, you're a mother, you need to quit doing shots.
Seriously.
And I'm like, what is this house of horrors? First of all, like, it's just like, I feel like a warning to all, where it's like, follow the red flags for real. Like, she didn't have to marry him. Like, she had the warnings before she was engaged. She got engaged. She had the warning while they were engaged. She married him.
She purposely didn't watch Vanderpump Rules season 1 through 3, she said, because she didn't want to see Jax like that, which would also have given her a huge,
Yeah.
strong look into
She
him.
moved forward with getting pregnant. She, like, they opened a business together. They did another show together. They did a podcast together. They're so intertwined. And I'm like, this goes out to all the ladies and gentlemen out there who are looking at the person they're dating, is like, I know in my soul that you are bad.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah, there's a few people, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there are some warnings out there that really need to be heeded, and you could, well, I don't know, but then again, I don't know. 'Cause then, like, Brittany would never change anything though for the fact that she had Cruz,
She could have had like a cruise 2 with some other guy who doesn't suck.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Little cruiser.
Yeah, little cruiser. Well, so yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad for Brittany. She's really the one who is actually suffering even more than Jax through this whole thing, because
Yeah.
she hitched her wagon to a falling star.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to think about as a thought experiment is if, and I would love to ask Brittany or hear her answer on this, is if the Scandival Jax and Brittany renaissance that happened when everyone in the Vanderpump Rules universe was getting the boats were all being lifted by the same tide or whatever. If the 3 or 4 years when Jax was going through depression because he was fired, when they weren't on camera, COVID, were Jax and Brittany struggling, but were they intact as a unit, and did they have a good marriage? And then all of this fame and Jax's Studio City and getting back onto the Valley, did that start to exacerbate all of these issues again? Because it seems like it instantly got worse, and they got to divorce/separation mode right when the Valley was premiering,
Right.
like in the midst of Jax's Studio City. So I wonder if at all Brittany would say the show brought out the monster in Jax again,
Right.
in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like when you observe the timeline and the way they were talking about it, that they had very few good eras.
You and I have always thought about what they, like, those good, wonderful moments were.
Yeah, like literally what?
Ones where they were like laughing and being really sweet to each other and cute. Crab Shack, we always say, but that was when he was proposing.
That's the literal moment of their engagement where he's like nervous and being nice.
She screams at the rooftop saying, I just got engaged, but Jax wasn't really a part of that, but Brittany was happy.
It sucks. Like, I'm sorry, it's like really been a squandering of her best, not her, I don't believe in that, the best years are your like young years or whatever, but like a lot of prime years.
Yeah, totally. If anybody can remember, I don't know if we've ever asked this before, but Little Turtle Cuties or Villa Rosa VIPs, let us know if you remember some beautiful moments between Brittany and Jax, because off the top of my head, I can't remember any of them. But I think we'll have to watch The Valley, and we'll have to see all of the horrible things that Jax does and what it looks like at the end of season 2, just like he talks about, and reckon the fact that he was ripping lines of coke and drinking, and then factor this all in and make the judgment. But I know that most likely we're just going to be absolutely horrified, and we keep getting into the situation with Jax where you and I, as we watch Vanderpump Rules from the very beginning, Jax does the most horrific shit in the world, and then for some reason he charms you back into his world until he does this next horrible thing that you have to forgive him for again. And now the scale of destruction is just so much more epic now, because it involves his child, and he's married, and he has a bar, and so his awful behavior just seems even more shocking. He's now entering the territory of nobody died, nobody got pregnant, nobody got divorced. He's now on the tipping point of having disastrous outcomes that are on that scale that he always said, he wasn't at.
Totally. Yeah, and it was weird listening because we both listened to the other Alex Baskin podcast. When was that? Like a few months ago?
Yes.
I don't remember how many months ago, but he talked about going to rehab, but we assumed it was just for like mental health and like rage. And then I think he said bipolar at that time. And he was saying that it was the first time he had been medicated for it or whatever. And listening to this again, I was like, if I like squint my eyes, this is the same interview again, except it's revealed that there's like a drug layer. But like, I mean, that's like, yeah, acknowledgement is the first step. Like that's big or whatever. But it felt like the exact same conversation. Like he was aware of those same things, and it didn't feel that much more evolved than however many months ago that was.
Yeah, and I think it's reasonable to say he's bracing for impact.
Oh God, it's going to be so bad. Like he said that last time, that it's going to be really, really, really bad. And then this time he was like, I've never been more anxious in my life. Like, do you think he's going to get like canceled? Like literally?
I mean, what does
Is that possible?
What does canceled mean in the Bravo universe anymore?
Well, Tom
Sandoval.
I think what we're going to see Jax do should trump Scandoval.
Obviously, yes. Yes, we've
but
talked about
will
this.
it? Because no one has any respect for him at all. Sandoval had it's hard to remember, but he had a ledge to fall from. I don't think Jax does.
James Kennedy was the end of me knowing
Right.
what the Bravo audience can tolerate and what they cancel. We had so much vitriol absolute pure hate, Emperor Palpatine would have been
Yeah.
rubbing his hands together and delighting in what the universe put towards Tom Sandoval. And this is not in defense of him, obviously. And then when we get, I'm not even going to relitigate what happened with James Kennedy because that's a fucking mess that I don't even want to talk about.
Yeah.
There was absolutely 1/1000th of the ire. And James Kennedy is already back to posting hippie and doing DJ sets going, do you like this drop? Wait for the drop. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on over there? So I would think that Jax destroying his house and breaking his television and screaming, fuck you or whatever to Brittany while Cruz sleeps soundly up above him in a room is cancelable behavior. But I also don't really, I think that some people are owed redemption, and it's up to us to decide if Jax admits that he was raged out and he was on coke and alcohol and then he's making accountable steps. He deserves to be in the doghouse for a long time, but is he irredeemable forever? Is Tom Sandoval irredeemable forever? Is James Kennedy irredeemable forever?
Yeah.
I don't know, but the cancellation, the calculations that people make to cancel Bravo celebrities is very confusing to me. It makes no sense.
Sandoval was just one in a million. Like, it shot to the stratosphere in a way that I don't know can ever even happen again. Like, it was like alchemy of post-COVID of
Yes.
like I'm not gonna say Me Too, but like female rage. Like, it was like something happened that like it was just like a chemical reaction.
And the web of it. People who
Yeah.
didn't watch Vanderpump Rules, like, we were not confused by the dynamics, but people on the outside, once this started to go viral, the whole best friend
Yeah.
/ who is Jax and Kristen, that had people really like delighted to hear how rich the history of Vanderpump Rules
Yeah.
was, something that we completely take for granted. So that was a huge part of why Scandival went so viral. It had that, like, the cheated on the best friend
Yeah.
or whatever, but it was completely overinflated, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was astounded that it ever got to that point, and it probably won't ever happen again. I mean,
No. Yeah, because
Jax is not going to go viral for breaking a bunch of
right, because
TVs.
it's not fun. Same as that's the thing with we said when it happened
Yeah.
with James. Scandival was fun to talk about because it was like salacious and it's like, I'm sorry for Ariana's pain, but it was more akin to like a soap opera, like drama,
But
like
the hate-
infidelity.
But the hate he got was so real and
Yeah.
palpable. It was
death threats.
he was going to get killed. I mean, we talked about it all the time. It was like the most rabid hatred you've ever seen in your life.
I know.
And on a scale of, and we've talked about this so many times, but just on the scale of what actually is real in life, obviously, by far, the accusations that we've found about James Kennedy and potentially about Jax. I'm not counting him out completely until we watch the footage.
I think
obviously.
there's something grounding about the seriousness of what
That no one
he
wants to talk
did,
about it.
That it's like it's too hard to talk about in any like there's no joy to be had. It's just like, man, that sucks. Like, fuck.
I'm already, I am probably one of the biggest supporters of Jax in the world.
Yeah.
Like, supporter is a weird word. I have allowed Jax as a fan so much grace, and he's done. I mean, I tell you this all the time. He's on the Tony Soprano level of awful behavior that I, for some reason, can justify because I know how
the
conflicted.
anti-hero.
He is an anti-hero. And even in the Alex Baskin interview, he goes, I've got good. It's just deep, deep down in me. And I do think I see that little shred of good within Jax Taylor because he charms me and I see some really sweet actions, but he makes it so hard for you to root for him, and he may test the limits because I will say when they show that Valley season 1 footage where they didn't even include it, where he's screaming at Brittany and there's no fun or even Jax level charisma, he's just going, stop fucking drinking, you're being a fucking awful mom. And I was like, ooh, damn, if I saw all of that footage from Jax, I would probably lose my tolerance to ever think he's sympathetic again. And I'm worried that the Valley season 2 shit is going to be just a compilation of all of the worst rage-filled moments with no charm.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
to
that's
back
the
it up.
bummer is like Brittany had to see that stuff like every week of their life.
Yeah.
Like it's so dark.
It's kind of how Katie, this is such a smaller scale, but it's kind of Katie and Schwartz. Schwartz was like cheating, actively going to different golf resorts and sleeping with someone on camera. And then when Schwartz does his vows, everyone's like, oh my God, Schwartz, you're one of the cutest guys in the world. Katie's like, I'm here. I don't do anything wrong. And you guys all fucking hate me. But Schwartz just like goes, oh, shucks. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I sorry, I got lost on my way back to the golf course. So, I guess, you know, to end this topic, we'll see. But even though Jax has done this so many times before, I honor growth, and this is a huge thing to admit. Some undercurrent that was there the entire time that he never wanted to acknowledge. He's letting the audience sort of hold him accountable now, and admitting that this thing actually colors his entire journey, his reality television journey. And so
yeah, because now it's like he's either on the wagon or he's off because he's made it black and white.
Yeah, I mean, now let's leave it at that.
There is the precedent of like Luann and like James, and people are like, no, like actually I can drink a little bit. So
No,
he could play with that later.
It's true. And James, we kind of did, you know, we commented on it, but we never really thought about it too much when we knew James definitely had a problem with alcohol, and everybody is telling him that constantly in season 3, 4, and 5 of Vanderpump Rules. And then the minute he's taken a drink again, we just assume that he's able to have control of it, or he knows his limits better. And then he gets to the point where he's like this, where now he knows he has to be sober.
Yeah.
So
that's why I'm like always a little nervous about the Cali sober thing, because James would then like smoke like 3 blunts at a time and like get high to the point that he was like on the moon. And I'm like, okay, well that's not what you should be doing.
Yeah, and it would be, and it's so much more healthy. But also, if he was just like running to the gym and working out for 6 hours a day every single day, you're not addressing the root cause. And we know James has a lot of pain in his heart. There's something
that's
there.
They both need to go away for a long time, not 12 days, not like they need to go do like a whole ass program.
But you know what? So like not to be all like pro Bravo, like, because people will be like, we are witnessing an ecosystem that fosters this or whatever. But I do like that Bravo does have this real shit in that you and I get to talk about and discuss. And like we're now, Jax is going to have probably cocaine addiction as part of his story in the Valley season 2, and it's so real, you know, to see actual people deal with this kind of shit and not like a sanitized version of reality. And Bravo does get to the depths of this shit sometimes. We were talking earlier about how one of the fun fourth wall breaks was they were saying that, you know, after a while, production was like, you guys like cannot drink at work. Like it just gets out of control. I mean, obviously a lot of the scenes are like out at bars and stuff, but like I think at SUR specifically, they were like, stop drinking on the job. So then he said Stassi always had a flask. I think he said Kristen had a flask. They would go next door to Tortilla Republic, which I think Stassi said before. Yes.
And they would get fucked up at the restaurant next door before they would film, because it was the only way they could handle doing the show.
Yeah. So they were just like they were at SUR, sneaking flasks into the bathroom while they were doing their shift. Instead, it's now on Vanderpump Rules. They're going to Tortilla Republic and slamming shots and stuff and drinking on the sides. Like they did the exact same behavior in a different work environment on Vanderpump Rules. Also, I liked when Alex Baskin, they were talking about how shitty all of the serving staff were at SUR and how boring it is to work there, and you had to be drunk if you wanted to make it fun. And then Alex Baskin goes, actually, no, Kristen was an amazing server. And he goes, and Tom Sandoval was one hell of a bartender. It's like, I loved it. He
but then
spotlighted.
Jax would be like, except Kristen would be like sobbing about something Tom did, and someone everyone would be waiting for their steak.
Yeah, that's so funny. Imagine you went to SIR back in the day in 2012, and you order what would Chef Jose have on the menu?
What's the special?
Scrambled vegetables in garlic butter sauce.
Scrambled vegetables.
And you order that, and then all of a sudden your waiter starts crying at the table. Says sorry, but
that's like artificial intelligence VR heaven. Like whenever we get to the thing where we get to like plug into our like dreamscape, I'm going there.
Yeah, for sure. What was happening in the 2009 to 2012
when they like plug my body into the Matrix and use me for like a milk farm or something? Like I'm gonna be like, put me in 2008, sir.
Yeah. Oh, they'll be getting a lot of milk out of us. All right. Let's end this wonderful news segment. I may need to unfortunately take an early certified turtle.
Unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
fortunately, that's a joy.
Oh, I know. I am excited to take a huge piss. So let me do that first, and then we'll come back and talk about Beverly Hills.
Sick.
We're back.
Wow, it's been a journey.
It has been a journey. Can I let Villa Rosa VIPs and Little Turtle Cuties know what we did during that piss break?
Yeah.
You and I got huge Jersey Mike's sandwiches and ate them.
Were they to your satisfaction?
I will say I had a complete, what's it called when you have the light bulb goes off in your head and you have a come
moment.
to Jesus aha moment. I said, aha, I love Jersey Mike's now.
Wow.
It was, I don't know what Mike did with that combination of shit that he puts on the sandwiches, but it was so delectably wet.
Bethany turned you.
Bethany, that's probably what it was. I looked at her and I said, look at the joy that is emanating from Bethany when she bites down on that Jersey Mike's. That is the feeling I had as soon as I put my mouth on this thing that we just ate, Jersey Mike's.
You were eating it like her, where she eats with her eyes closed.
And
savors it and is like...
Yeah, I was doing the most annoying thing where the person who says after every bite.
Good.
Yeah, I was doing every kind of food catchphrase after. I did good. I go I love this. And so I just have to say, yeah, I'm in the tank for Jersey Mike's now.
Welcome.
Number 8, Club Sub, Mike's Way, Parmigiane or rosemary Parmigiane bread. That was good.
Yeah, I got the veggie. I vacillate between the veggie and the tuna. I feel a little like when I'm at someone's house or in public, I'm not gonna put them through me getting a tuna and having it like drip all over the place. So I got the veggie, which they put like a pound of cheese on it to make up for it not having meat, and some little bell peppers.
Oh, so was it good?
Yeah, it was great.
I'm so sorry. If you would have told me that you were having any second thoughts about eating tuna fish in my
I
home,
didn't want my hands to smell like tuna. Like
we could have washed
I
them.
need a full like rinse down after that. But that's what Bethany gets. She was about, she's the tuna salad queen. When it's not chicken salad, it's tuna salad. And she said their tuna salad, she goes, it's wet.
Yeah,
but in a good way.
I would say wet. Wet is probably how I would describe that sandwich. Doused, wetter than you'd imagine. Soaked. This sub was absolutely soaked. It was a soaker. But
luckily, your wife very kindly, she rushed it back before it was soggy though.
It didn't have any time to get that Mike's Way permeate through the bread. I will say, I wish, this is one thing, I just don't think, I've said it before, that bread, I don't know if you guys are using the Subway method where your loaves of bread are little like balls, freezer balls, and then you put water on them and then they well up like, those toys that we used to have when we were kids.
Yeah.
The sponge breads. That's what Subway does. I think that there might be some of those in the kitchen at Jersey Mike's. Just elevate that bread to make it seem like it's in the bread
pantheon. Why don't you get a sub and a tub? Forget the bread.
What's that?
It's like they turn any sandwich into a salad.
Oh, sub in a tub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only done that in like the bleakest times in my life where I'm like, time for my summer body. I'll get a sub in a tub and I eat it being like, what am I doing?
Yeah, shit. Well, it's kind of fuck me,
you could
I guess.
Put it on your own bread.
Yeah, I could do anything I want. I could get sub in a tub, come back to get bread I respect, slather that thing on, maybe add whatever new ingredients I want. Anyway, I just want to say Jersey Mike's have been so harsh on them, but seeing Bethany, knowing that you love Jersey Mike's, I got to just respect what's going on there.
Yeah. I like all of their like pickled elements, like the chili pepper relish.
Yeah, it's
I
amazing.
could go on.
Do we know, Mike, is he one of those things where it's like the Wendy's dad? Or like, is he like a
Yeah, I don't
creation?
know the
Or is he,
lore.
I bet it's a man.
Probably. Doesn't seem that complicated.
No,
but-
it's just like, this is the guy who started it. But anyway,
Speaking of a beautiful sandwich that you might eat at the beach, let's go to the Hamptons for the new episode of Summer House called Pink and Blues.
and they go to a beach.
They do.
Yes, let's talk about that. Let's switch over from Jersey Mike chat and go to the recap of this week's episode of Summer House. I gotta say, can I say it first?
Go
Because I don't know what you're gonna say. I thought it was a ripper.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Like
It-
old times.
Like old times. Also incorporates the legacy of Summer House within it.
Yeah.
By showing all those beautiful moments, those flashbacks, and then having the Hannah retrospective,
Yeah.
and the impact of this missing person on the relationships and dynamics of the house. This was like a like for Summer House heads,
Yeah.
for all of us, and I thought it was great. I mean, they were simmering maybe the first couple episodes. They're just getting into the house, but this had all of the fun of Summer House. I felt with that cataclysmic showdown between Kyle and Paige.
Yeah.
And then all the after effects of that and the Hannah stuff. And then there was some fun Jesse shit. And then Emerald is trying to have sex on camera without getting found out.
Yeah.
There was just that. It was great.
Yeah.
Perfect Summer House.
Active. I feel like it's becoming untenable for me to go much longer without doing a Summer House rewatch.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should talk about that. But because I'm like, I know how I felt at the time, but I would like to be able to justify my opinions with fresh details.
I would love to too, because you and I only, this is to give, to shout out to the Patreon, the only toe we dipped into the Summer House water was the crossover in season 5, where
Yeah.
we got to recap Summer House for the first time. And I was astounded by my preconceived notions, because Carl was not behaving very well, in my opinion. He was a little odd.
Yeah.
The Lindsay stuff starts out, she's just like immediately going to war with that. I forget
Yeah.
that person, her roommate
Yeah.
in the city. So it'd be fun to look back, because even as we watch Vanderpump Rules now, there are so many things that I took for granted, like Tom and Ariana's relationship. And I was like, oh my God, they had one of the most beautiful relationships I've ever seen in my life. And then when you watch that, you realize like how few and far between those actual
House
beautiful.
of Cards.
Yeah, the House of Cards. So anyway, we will, of course, go back into it. But this had a lot of lore
Yeah.
and in a retrospective on the entire Summer House franchise, which I thought was fun.
Totally. Okay, so it starts right up from where it left off. They're in the backyard. We're not getting Bailey this episode. She's I don't know. They said she had boyfriend issues.
I think she was fired.
Yeah.
I think she was fired. There was a little ADR where they said they go. She has boyfriend issues, and I don't know if we'll see her ever again.
Yeah.
I think she was talking shit. I think I don't know. I haven't heard, and I also don't want to wade too much into it. But
Yeah, I don't really care.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's like bye.
Goodbye. Yeah.
Hardly knew ye.
Pinks and Blues. You already said this title.
Yes.
And we know why they called it that.
Yes. Gender reveal.
Yeah.
/ Paige is sad. Kyle is sad.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think of blues in that context.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
They
amazing.
had to honor that pun somehow.
Oh, of course, yeah. Have you ever heard that rumor that when these two nurses were painting the 2 rooms at the first ward of where babies were coming out, when they were deciding those colors?
First in history.
The first in history, and one nurse goes, "I'm going to paint the boys' room pink because it's very powerful and fun, and then we're going to paint the blue room blue because it's soft," or whatever. They were trying to adhere to whatever gender norms they found for those colors, and then all of a sudden one nurse accidentally went in the wrong room and put the girl in the pink and the guy in the blue,
in
and
the
then
stink.
in the stink or blue room. And then those have been the conformed gender colors
Ever since.
ever since. Have you heard that?
I'm trying to imagine this universe where this decision was made for eternity, but it's like a Greek myth.
I've just always heard that. Let us know if you've ever heard that weird myth that I heard, but I don't think it's probably true. It doesn't make much sense. Okay, Lindsay goes, scavenger hunt, everyone. And I have to say, this reminded me, I was thinking about it the whole time. Have you seen Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter?
Yes.
The Triwizard Tournament?
Yes.
Where they go through the hedge maze and they have to answer riddles. This was a lot like a very, I would say, pared down version of
Before the violence.
the Triwizard Tournament before, unfortunately, Cedric Diggory meets his fate when he
Hogwarts is not safe.
no. Oh my gosh, I was reading
Much
this.
like our schools in America.
Oh my god,
Maybe she was ahead of the curve on that.
That's true. Wow, give her a point for that at least. Okay, so and she goes, "You're going to wear a color." I'm going to explain the rules before we get into it. She goes, "Wear these colors." She kind of tries to talk about that rumor I said about the pinks versus the blues, but she goes, "Pinks is for shirts of which people will think you're voting for a girl, and then wear blue if boy is." If boy is what you think, and so they do that.
Sandwich scrambled your mind.
And then
Pink if you wish to see a girl before ye.
Pink if it's a girl you think. Pink if it's a girl you think, and then blue if what did we
if it's
say?
a boy for you.
Yeah, if it's a boy for you. And they do it. It's pretty much split down the middle. I'm not 100% sure if they actually adhered to what they thought, because at the end, Kyle says, I thought it was a girl. I think maybe a lot of people are leaning towards girl, but she made, or
Yeah,
they just
she
said,
was
let's
like,
just make this more
split it up.
fun.
Yeah.
But then they have to read little riddles in these treasure boxes. And then when you get to the final one, a big box opens up, right?
With
reveal.
balloons.
Yeah.
And Danielle, first of many things in this episode where she stirs the pot a little bit or like talks some shit, which was refreshing, frankly. She goes, I think a gender reveal usually includes the baby daddy, but instead, Carl's here. She was like, is she trying to rub it in his face? Even for Lindsay, this is a bit over the top. And I'm like, is she the only one allowed to say that? Because like, I feel like no one else would even dare say that.
Yeah. Well, I think Danielle, because as of now she's friend of, you're definitely compelled to create as many iconic moments as you can with the screen time you have, and Danielle letting those feelings be known, which are kind of she's had these feelings about Lindsay and Carl's dynamic, for a few seasons, even though she did solidify her relationship with Lindsay again. I think she knows it's worth saying her true feelings out loud, because it would want producers to possibly have that dynamic in the house.
Well,
and Danielle is killing it in the house again. She's just back, and she fully knows everyone, and they love her, and she propels the plot along. She just makes so much sense as a
much
cast
better
member.
than Gabby.
Oh yeah,
It's,
I mean
like,
you just have to
insane.
say.
So yeah, Carl, it is insane that he's going to participate in this game, but what choice does he have? He's like, I think it's going to be a girl. And he's like, I just want to have a good time this summer. Last summer sucked. And they show the clips of them fighting constantly, and her being like, you're doing drugs, and him being like, please no.
Yeah, Carl's being so sweet. He's running around this house as fast as humanly possible to try to find as many treasure boxes as he can. He's so into it. I would say he's the most into it of all the people.
I mean, he really doesn't have a choice. I mean, it seems like he actually doesn't mind. Like, he's really mind over matter here, and just like, whatever, like, it's fine. And he says in a little bit that it's a good exercise in moving forward, because it's just a line in the sand that this is her new chapter.
Yeah.
But I'm like, in any normal world, this would never happen.
No, right. I mean, the summer house conceit is what makes this all believable, even though it's perfect for reality television. But we just have to believe that they all just want to go back to this summer house so bad together, and Carl would withstand that. But I have to say, personally, if this happened to me, I wouldn't let it stop me from doing a big riddle hunt gender reveal. I thought it was fun.
I don't know how he gets over his anger. Like, I'd be like, I'm not celebrating you. Good day.
You really? I would just totally do this. You wouldn't?
No.
Oh, wow. So you would be.
I'd be but then it's like he literally doesn't have a choice, because if he had any resentments whatsoever, he'd get torn to shreds. Like, he gets torn to shreds even when he's as well behaved as you could possibly be.
So if he said, I can't do this, it's too emotionally vulnerable for me, I'm just going to sit in this corner and watch you all, you think people would have been pissed?
Is that a real question?
Carl, you think people would be like, Carl couldn't even play this
They'd be
Easter
like,
egg hunt?
he's a little bitch. He ruined the party. Like, he should leave. He has no right to be here.
Okay, so then the counter to that, the fact that he did the opposite of what would inspire hate, everyone must be so happy with Carl that he contributed like
No,
this.
because they'll be like, him even mentioning that there's any world in which it's weird for him to participate means that he's a demon.
Yeah. Well, he's, for me personally, I'm just going to say it, I thought it was really sweet to watch Carl running around this house
Yeah.
trying to get those riddles.
I even saw, did you see that West did an interview? He got a little political and, I mean, whatever, political in quotes, I guess, but he was like standing up for women's rights and like trans rights, and saying that like he lives in Hell's Kitchen and there's like drag bars on every corner, and he is blah, 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 blah. And it was cool, but some of the replies were like, he's just trying to get laid.
Wow. Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
oh my God.
Oh my
Like,
God. This guy's just trying to get laid. Wow. That's wow. To have an ulterior motive even for
they were
that
like
kind of stuff.
performative.
Wow. Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. I wouldn't think that wouldn't be my first rationale for why he was saying that, is that he wants to have sex more. Okay. They're going around. Some of the riddles are very fun, but like you and I were looking at each other winking, and we were going, this is a producer's treasure box.
Oh yeah.
No pun intended.
Clip-a-palooza.
Clip-a-palooza. It goes where I forget what the riddle was.
Yeah, it was like, where does Kyle go to cry?
It was a rhyme.
Yeah, I'm not gonna remember any of them.
Me neither. Die. When this person wanted to die,
He's
this
feeling
is where.
shy.
Yeah. When this person's feeling shy, this is where he went to cry. Everybody goes, Kyle went to cry in the car last
Yes.
year, and then they flash back to Kyle crying, and then they go, can I say the vulgar one?
Yeah.
They go, this is where the men whip out their cocks. Once you go there, it will take you to a box. And they all know instantly this is where they all take their morning piss
Would you have gotten all of these?
in about 1 second for all of them. I don't know if I'd remember where Kyle goes to cry, but the minute that they started even thinking about it,
I
they
think
said,
Lindsay overestimated the iconography of her going through that gate last season. She was like, where does Lindsay go to escape? And it was like the front gate.
yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't really, some of those moments are just for that Lindsay thinks about more probably.
Yeah.
But then of course the bed bugs one, I was like, I know that. It's where they sleep.
Lay to rest.
Where they lay to rest.
But yeah, so whatever. There's the gender reveal. They run to the box. There's pink balloons. They set off these little crackers.
Can I ask a question? When they did all those, it looked like Team Girl got there first. But how is it just the first people who did all the riddles, then they got to the box first? But they like got there at the same time.
Prize. The prize was finding out the gender, and everyone gets to find out anyways.
Yeah, and they were there right at the same time. So I didn't really understand that. But then all of a sudden, little poppers, she goes, Emerald thought that Turner was in the box, which that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, I love how they're all so uncomfortable with, like, at one point, I forget who's asking, but they're like, are we even allowed to say Turner's name?
Yeah.
Like, is it a secret?
Yeah, they don't know what's like off limits in this world that Lindsay has created with this privacy. But the stuff comes out. It's a bunch of pink balloons. They instantly know when you see those, it's a girl. And then Lindsay goes, now everybody put on pink shirts, and then we're going to have a huge dinner all wearing
Where
pink.
the food is pink.
Yeah.
It's raw meat.
I was thinking that too. Medium rare meat, grapefruit is pink, right?
That's like
Pink salt.
Pink food is not appetizing.
Oh.
Even though shrimp is like my favorite food,
Oh.
I would just have shrimp and that's all. They did
Oh.
have crab legs, but then they also had like vodka pasta. And I was like, something about just basing it around it being pink was kind of gross to me.
Can I counter and just say the opposite? That I realize that's my favorite. All my favorite foods are pink.
If it's not pink, it stink.
Yeah, I was immediately like, oh, I love lobsters. I love shrimp. I love pink salt. I love
Just a bowl of Himalayan salt.
so, but I think that to give Lindsay or that chef a little bit of credit, I think that they went slightly outside of the boundaries of pink for some of those dishes. Don't you think?
Okay, but yeah, then it's dinner, yeah?
Yeah, dinner immediately. And they are kind of just being like, let's talk about other stuff. Danielle asked some questions about Jesse. We find out Jesse partied his ass off with Lexi, and Kyle goes, "Oh, you went to a club with Lexi and her parents?" And Jesse goes, "Yes. Lexi's mom put on jean shorts and a blazer. His dad wore all black, and we all partied at a club for a lot of hours."
Yeah, they showed Lexi's mom getting like shots poured into her mouth. She also said, because they're from Canada, but she said that her mom and her sister work with her, so they stay in New York a lot. And I'm like, doing what? Like, is she like an influencer model?
Yeah,
is that her job?
Yeah, I think so. I think that they probably, I don't know anything about this. This is all speculative, but I think probably Lexi makes money as a model and an influencer. The parents are managers. Instead of her having managers, they just get to have that 10%, and it stays all in the family money. And I'm sure her sister and her mom just have other jobs that they do too, in addition to managing their daughter. It just sounds like all it said to me is that this is a very, very close family.
Jesse's in for it.
Yeah, and then Danielle, thinking about, hey, what's the best question I could ask at any time while I'm here? She goes, "Are you guys having the exclusive talk?"
Yeah. Yeah, he goes, I think we're both only pursuing each other, but we'll have that conversation and let you guys know. Also, at one point, Paige asks Lindsay if she's considering her baby name suggestion, and I couldn't hear if she said Dale with a D or Gail with a G, like Gail King.
Oh, I think Dale.
Dale, like Tinsley's mom?
Yeah, I think Dale for sure. And I want to know a little bit more into why Paige thought that was the perfect name. Dale Hubbard?
Dale Koofy.
Dale Koofy, because Paige was really excited about that. Kyle has to ask multiple times. He goes, "Paige, what name did you recommend? Paige, what name did you recommend?" She finally says Dale, but she's not wanting anything to do with Kyle, so she says it very quickly.
Maybe
but
she'll use it herself.
Yeah, quite possibly. Also, a little side moment before we get to the Kyle and Paige thing. Carl says that he's wearing big baggy pants now after the outroar.
Yeah.
Outroar?
Uproar.
Outrage at him wearing tighter pants.
Yes.
Last year, he's finally decided to wear baggier pants, and he tells Sierra that. Kyle, at one point, he goes, "Look at all this pink food." He goes, what does he say about the crab? He goes, "This crab came all the way from Alaska." What was the joke?
Paige rolls her eyes.
Yeah, Paige rolls her eyes, so we know things are really not good between them.
So then it transitions to Paige going, "Let's ask Kyle what's up. He's had a lot to say this week." And, they then just get into it. And there's like the whole topic for the rest of the dinner until it gets disbanded. And it's about the both Hannah's interview she did where she said that Kyle got her fired for the Truly sponsorship or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Craig going around saying, according to Kyle, lying about how their potential deal didn't happen because he moved forward with Spritz Society. Kyle is saying that Craig is saying that he told Kyle it was already done, and that's how he presented it to him. Kyle is saying, "You came to me weighing options, saying I could either work with them or I could work with you. What could we do together?" And Kyle was in the process of coming up with an offer, and the deal was already done with Spritz Society.
Yeah. So I have to say, I'll just say my thoughts now because those are the details that they're fighting about. I believe probably that Kyle did his due diligence about offering the counter and asking for a day for the proposal, and Craig might have not wanted to disappoint Kyle and said that he signed a deal with Spritz Society. So there was some ambiguous language there that made Kyle mad, and he decides to call Craig a liar, which is the most inflammatory way you could describe these events. But it was probably, there was probably some miscommunication there at the very least. But what I just don't understand at all, and so it's really hard to root for Kyle, is that none of this has anything to do with Paige, as Paige keeps saying. So I understand whatever he's frustrated with about Craig and even about Hannah, but there's just no excuse for taking it all out on Paige in this entire dinner. The next day, I can't really support this tirade against Paige at all.
Yeah.
She's handling this the best you could ever handle it. It's not her fault that Craig did a potentially shitty business deal that hurt Kyle's feelings, and it's not Paige's fault that Hannah talked shit for a second about getting fired because she still has hurt feelings about that.
Yeah, it seems like for a minute, Amanda, because Paige goes, "What was Craig supposed to do? Like, he told you this is what was happening, and that's what he did." And Amanda is like, this is the only time she's sort of like tries to stick up for their side of it, where she goes, "That's not what he did, and there has been a lot of harm to our brand, like bad comments, like because obviously it's her business too now." So she's like, it has sucked for us. So she, I think, knows or agrees that what Craig did was shitty, but she would do anything to avoid having conflict with Paige because it like clearly pains her so much to have Kyle and Paige go head to head. Like it really sucks. But yeah, so then when Kyle says that he needed time to come up with an offer, Sierra is like, "Hey, like, can we all invest if we want to?" And he's like, "Yeah, you can." She's like, "How much?" And he's like, $25K, same as it was in 2019. And West is like, "I can't afford that."
Yeah. And everybody laughs, and Sierra goes, "That was very funny, West." And West lights up like a Christmas tree because he made Sierra laugh. It's so fun. I love talking about this business deal shit with Loverboy and the cast, like possibly investing. All this stuff is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
The Spritz Society's Craig shit doesn't even really make sense now that Paige is like, now there's so much separation between these two shows and these two universes. The idea that Craig would have some ownership within Loverboy makes no sense now.
I know.
Without them having this crossover opportunity. It's like, good thing he didn't sign with you. You'd be like, what the hell are we paying Craig to do now?
He also, you could tell Craig has like some animosity towards Summer House in general. When he was talking about, he's like, her cast was talking shit, and I'm like, well, Southern Charm talks shit all the time. Like, all of those people say stuff about Paige all day long, so it goes both ways.
Totally.
But it's funny that there's sort of animosity between those brands, so to speak. I also saw someone tagged us that Jesse Solomon did a Truly spawn. I feel like a lot of them have done some form of that, but it was literally Truly. So all the comments were like, he better get as much guff as Hannah got for this.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is Kyle ever going to put up a fight about anybody else doing another seltzer again after this one? He's already had two that we know of, and now we know. I remember Wes did a spiked drink. These are just sponsored posts.
Does anyone besides Hannah say that she was besmirched for doing the Truly?
Well, Craig is in a way sort of besmirched about his business acumen by
they at least had a conversation. Like, it sounds like Hannah just went on her own and did that. She's the only one that's ever said that was a problem.
Yeah. Yes, totally.
So I don't really know, like, we don't have like a well-rounded view of what happened there. I think he just already hated Hannah anyways.
I think so too.
So
I think Kyle needs to really separate himself from Loverboy and realize that unfortunately Summer House is not going to be the perfect outlet for whatever he wants Loverboy to be. It's amazing for all of them to drink it already. It's so part of the Bravo zeitgeist and a part of our lives, and I would get it anytime we go there.
Good merch. Good merch.
Amazing merch, amazing people there, but also like you can't 100% control how your brand is going to be perceived if it's not like Bravo sanctioned, where absolutely no one else on the cast can do anything outside of the Loverboy universe. It's just, I think that Kyle gets so upset because he has so much stress about running this company, and he gets really bummed out if Loverboy is even for 1 second like has a negative connotation. But unfortunately, it's outside of his control. It's just not a perfect environment for his business, and there's been a lot of issues, and he takes it all personally. And I was just thinking, as Kyle was huffing and puffing and fighting, I was just like, I do think there's some like ego involved here and stress that Kyle is like getting out a lot of his just like frustration on people who just don't deserve it. And that's kind of a recurring theme.
Yeah.
You know, he does it to Amanda. Now he's doing it to Paige. It's like something about the lover boy dynamic and how he's operating is affecting Kyle mentally, and he's reacting pretty harshly and
Would
hurting
love if he
people's.
could sell it. Like just to get a big payout.
I want him to have it. I just want him to not have to suffer through whatever Summerhouse and the other cast members make him suffer through, because it's just not always going to be a perfect advertisement for him. And he gets so bummed out and hurt, and it causes him to lash out a lot.
Yeah. Did he? So obviously, him and Hannah already had beef, like regardless of the drink thing. Like they just never liked each other and are sort of enemies. And then Amanda, in my memory, Amanda hated her too after like what she had done. Like they started out being super fun and close and stuff, but I don't think it's just Amanda standing by Kyle's side to hate Hannah. I think by the end of that summer, that season, Amanda was like, she sucks.
I think she started to side with Kyle more, but also she was just in such an unfortunate position. But I do think there was some like bad blood where maybe Hannah did some things that like Amanda couldn't forget. But what was amazing about this episode is that the Hannah part, now it's not just like a rage text where Hannah is like talked about, but then they start to talk about Hannah's relationship with the cast in this fight. And then that's when Paige says in this argument with Kyle, she goes, I don't want what happened between Amanda and Hannah to happen between me and Amanda. And I try my hardest to never let that conflict come into place, because what Hannah and I had and Amanda and I had was so amazing and beautiful, and it was completely ruined over shit like this.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. I mean, it's also like, I felt bad for Paige because if I was in her shoes, I would be so stressed out. Like there's nothing worse in the world than being in the middle of two people that you really like that don't fuck with each other, because there's really like no way out. Like there's no winning, because it's like you can be respectful. Like she said, she was like, I try really hard to be good friends to each of them without talking shit about the other. But she was like, Giggly Squad is my entire life, and 2 months out of the year I can't talk about it here. And she's like, if Kyle and Craig officially hate each other and feud, then like I can't come here anymore. Which honestly, I kind of wonder if like that's part of what I'm not about Kyle, but just like Craig stressing her out to any degree. She's like, I don't have time for this shit, and like cut ties. Yeah.
And I also wonder now if she would admit that the Spritz Society shit was like a little off, and she just had to defend him, you know, even though he made some miscalculated moves during that whole process. So we're kind of brushing over the fight, but it's pretty epic. I mean, Paige storms out. They call each other two-faced. Kyle says, Paige, you're having a moment here. Let's just all let you have your moment.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. And people are just kind of, Emerald is there for the first time eating his pink food, and he's like, holy shit, this is what goes down in this house. And then Danielle and Lindsay try to like calm things down, but it's basically just like it spirals out of control, with Paige and Kyle having about probably an 8 out of 10 fight you could have in the summer house.
Amanda's like sinking in her seat, so miserable. So you know, Kyle's so pissed. He's calling it slander. He storms off. Paige goes to sit in her bed. Lindsay checks on her, which surprised Paige. Amanda's pissed at Kyle now because she's like, you need to check yourself. Paige is always putting our marriage in a blender.
No, what does, okay, so to get on into Kyle's mind, he keeps saying, I can't have someone in my life or someone that's a friend to me who has a friend that thinks badly of me or that lies about me. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, that's completely possible for Paige to hold two opposing friends or whatever dynamics in her mind at the same time and be friends with both. Kyle wants to find out if Paige also feels the way Hannah feels about their relationship. But I don't think Paige has given Kyle any evidence of that. Like he burned a bridge with Hannah, or Hannah feels like there's a bridge burned. But I don't think Paige has ever come out and just said, I also view Kyle as a cheater and shitty, and I think he got Hannah fired. I feel like she's done a good job of delicately holding the balance.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of implied that she only fucks with Kyle for Amanda's sake.
Yeah.
You know, like she's like, it's always about Amanda. Like when she was talking about the Hannah stuff, she's like, I have been so respectful to your wife. And like last week she goes like, you're so lucky that I am so close with your wife. Like she's just holding it down. She would go nuclear and absolutely burn a bridge with Kyle if it wasn't for Amanda. But she's like, she knows that will like murder Amanda. Like she'll implode completely. Like even this, she like hides in the shower because she's so upset. Like she has no, I mean, it's a horrible position. Like, because I'm not even gonna go as like, it sucks that Kyle is putting this on Paige, but it would still be uncomfortable even if it was just on Craig or just on Hannah, because that still puts pressure on Paige. So that's still like an awkward thing. But it's like, it's really hard when you're like in a relationship, a marriage, and it's like you kind of have to take their side. Yeah. Like you have to. Yeah. But Amanda like doesn't want to. Yeah. So it's like she gives them a little bit where she's like, Craig did fuck us over, and she'll go a little bit in, but then she's pissed about how Kyle is handling it, so she can, you know, at least be like, you're fucking this up by reacting that way. Yeah. So it's like a shitty situation for everyone, and Kyle isn't helping it. No. But it would be awkward no matter what.
I wish Kyle would have said to Paige, because this would make more sense, if he would have said, Paige, I love you as a friend and I respect you and I think you're really funny, and we've been friends for 6 or 7 years, and Hannah, I know, thinks that I'm a cheater and shitty and yell, and you're her best friend. Do you really like me or love me as a person, or are you just here because you tolerate me because Amanda, and you wouldn't actually be friends with me? That'd be a lot more emotionally vulnerable and real if he just explained it that way. And I don't know if that's actually what he's
maybe next
asking.
Week on the beach.
That would be amazing if he just said, I love you, Paige. I think you're so funny and cool, and I don't want to ruin another relationship like I did with Hannah, and I know that I spiral out of control and scream and shit, but I actually value your friendship. And so thinking that you and Hannah, after Giggly Squad gets done recording, you talk about what a cheater I am and how I ruined Hannah's life and stuff, that's a bummer for me because I love you apart from Amanda.
Yeah. Did on Winter House, when Craig was being a dick, Kyle was mad about that, right?
Yeah, he goes, get in control of your boyfriend. He's acting like a fucking dickhead.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's kind of crazy. So like, this is all with the undercurrent that generally people think Craig is a liar, and potentially Paige, like you said, would see differently now. I'm also wondering, this didn't really bubble, and we don't have to get into it, but we were talking about the Oscars thing, and I saw some bad Hannah sentiment on a clip or two, and I'm wondering if that has nothing to do with Kyle, obviously, but generally the narrative has been like she is skyrocketed to the top and like is bigger than the show or whatever, and I'm wondering if, well, I think she's officially reached a, what do you call that, like level where people are seeing her who don't know who she is or don't love her enough to defend her, saying, what the fuck is this?
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like Hannah did unfortunately had a bad moment, I guess, but yeah, I don't know how that, if now if people are like, oh wait, I did always hate Hannah, like, you know what I mean? Like,
it was funny because it happened like exactly when that whole conversation was happening, where I was like, ooh, she took a public ding during this whole judgment. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, so we'll see how that plays out. I'm not sure like how that's all going, but then a sweet moment once, like we said, Paige gets back to the room, Lindsay's there, Sierra's there, Lexi comes in, and then I really love this moment from Paige. She starts to talk about what this means, the ramifications of this, and she says like, I just really don't want to lose this friendship. She goes, Hannah and me and Amanda were amazing friends. You get this beautiful montage, which this is what I remember, from my first watch. I was like, I loved the three of them. It was like before Sierra, they were the trio. Like Amanda thought Hannah was so funny. They fit in perfectly. The relationship got a little sullied with Kyle, but Paige crying over this was like an amazing moment for me. Just to see Paige so upset about friendship and stuff was so sweet. And then to see when Amanda comes in, that Amanda instantly just starts crying when she hugs Paige. It's like, this is so sad. All you want is just to be friends and you love each other and anything in the world you would do to make that right. And you already lost a friend because of these complicated dynamics. And then you're just saying to each other, like, I don't want to lose you no matter what happens with this guy who's on a tirade screaming about a bunch of shit. And I'm sympathetic partly to what Kyle is feeling, but I just think Paige is the wrong outlet for all of that rage.
She's like, I can't even have a bachelorette party because I wouldn't be able to invite them both. And I was like, oh, I didn't know it was like that.
Like, so bad between them. I would love, if there was ever a way to ever like see that like them, come back together and forgive each other, like that would be the most powerful shit in the world. This whole time I was just like, I love that the Hannah part of this like actually came into the season in a huge way. And they're discussing this, and that because it shows a portal to the meaningfulness of these friendships in the house. And so the Amanda Paige moment I thought was really, really sweet. And this is something that Amanda's had to deal with so many times with Kyle, having these sort of rage fueled meltdowns. So then some people want to go out still. It's actually a weird group. It's Danielle, Emerald, and Carl. Yes.
And West, meanwhile, is like, I actually like know people at a different house. I'm gonna sneak out over there. And he, under the cover of night, just goes over there and actually never ends up coming back. He comes back at like 7 a.m.
Yeah. And so they go out. What else happens? Then they're kind of like Jesse and Lexi just are trying to get the hot tub working. But unfortunately, we learned a new fact about the summer house. That hot tub doesn't get hot for about 4 or 5 hours.
Sucks. Oh, I was thinking that. I was like, it's like when you go to a rental house or something and it's cold and you're like, well, we're fucked. We can't use it till tomorrow.
Totally.
Jesse also was like, I can't remember the last time I stayed in during the house. I think last time I was afraid that I had cancer.
Yeah, that was the only thing that could keep him from partying last year. Kyle is doing a bunch of check-ins, I think knowing that this didn't go the best for him because Amanda is very upset with him. And she just goes, go to bed, Kyle, go to bed. Like let the night end. Because Kyle kind of after the fight is just walking around the house and Carl is following him, trying to calm him down, saying, don't leave.
Yeah.
Have we talked enough about what is going on in Kyle's mind? He's also upset about the Hannah. He keeps saying that those rumors are also ruining potentially almost ruining my marriage with Amanda. These like cheating rumors or the truly shit or the dynamics between him and Hannah. But it's just so hard. Again, it's just, I wish that he was talking to the people that had actually hurt him, because this has nothing to do with Paige. So there's something in there with about how he's feeling, but he's just not confronting the right person.
Repeatedly calling, he like didn't even say Hannah's name most of it. He was saying your business partner. So I guess that was his hook, was that you're in business with this person, so you are, which is a little bit true. Like she is in bed with Hannah publicly. Like it's not just a friendship. It is technically a business at that point, but that has nothing to do really with what Hannah was talking about. If it was something like, I don't know, about business more so, Paige would have to answer to it, but it does suck that she's like has to answer for these people. And the one time Amanda sticks up, or one of the times Amanda sticks up for Kyle, she goes, Kyle didn't get Hannah fired, which is probably technically true. Obviously Kyle didn't have the authority
to get Hannah fired, but he did everything as a cast member to not welcome Hannah back. Bravo fired Hannah, but he didn't give even 1 inch of an olive branch towards Hannah for her to continue on season 6. So as a cast member, he completely shut her out and isolated her for how he felt betrayed or whatever, the truly shit, not taking out the garbage. So I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, God, I need to rewatch that shit.
Yeah.
So let's see. Is that it for the night?
Yeah, they wake up. West comes back, into the bed. No one's the wiser that he might have gone out.
Oh yeah,
Emerald,
the night before, Emerald put a hat, like a fedora, on the camera because he brought somebody home. Which I'm like, we haven't seen somebody obscure the camera in years.
I know, and it was so. Emerald says, I don't want these cameras to watch me have sex. He puts his hat up. The hat falls, and I said to you, I go, are they going to still show Emerald having sex with a person despite him putting a hat on? The answer is no.
Well, they didn't have a release on that, presumably girl, because they didn't show her come in or out.
Right, but if she was under bed sheets and Emerald was making love to her, they probably could have shown the footage, but because he put the hat on, they said, oh, who the hell are we? We're not going to show him having sex if he tried
They
to
used
put a
to
hat
do that all the time.
I know.
They would show like thrusting and like moaning.
Yeah.
It used to be like disgusting.
Yeah, it was wild. Kyle is kind of, he's messed up the next day. He says he feels like a fish out of water. Carl tried to talk to him at the gym. And he was having none of it, right?
Danielle's trying to interrogate West, like, did you go to the Bone Zone? Where'd you stay? Where'd you sleep? Did you sleep alone? And the producers are like, West, did you sleep alone on that couch? And he's like, mm-hmm. And then he goes, no, obviously not.
Yeah, so I guess he's saying that he might have possibly slept with someone else
At a different summer house, the Bizarro summer house.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Which, like, okay, who cares? But he's so scared of getting in trouble for it that he's like, don't say anything.
Yeah.
Paige is in bed still and she's texting Craig. And she's like, oh, he wrote me an example of what this would be like. And Craig said, imagine me yelling at Amanda because Kyle started working with Hearth and Home. I think he meant, I looked it up because I'm like, isn't that Joanna Gaines, Chip and Joe's Target brand? And that's called Hearth and Hand. But I have to imagine that's what he's talking about. Unless there's another one.
Yeah, what's that comparison?
He's saying, like, what if Kyle did a pillow line with a rival pillow brand? And I'm like, you'd be pissed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he probably wouldn't go through Amanda.
But he said if Amanda did it, right?
No, he's saying me yelling at Amanda for Kyle doing
a
that.
Hearth and Hand pillow
Yeah.
line? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course Craig would be pissed.
He'd be pissed, but he wouldn't go through Amanda.
Right. No, of course. No. Kyle even will know this. Kyle, I'm sure, even on the after show, whenever they get to the reunion. People, we want conflict and we want people to express their feelings, but Paige was not the right person to get this wrath at all. It's not justifiable in any way.
No.
And everyone's telling him that. And Amanda says that. They have a talk, and he's still sort of being the victim here. He's like, I just feel like a fish out of water. I'm only human. And Amanda's like, it just does not involve her, no matter your feelings.
Keep it head to head with Craig. It's fun for me to watch when you guys get pissed at each other and are passive aggressive on Watch What Happens Live and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. And maybe he should have rage texted or whatever. Rage
text Craig.
Rage text Craig for sure.
I'll watch the shit out of that.
Maybe he doesn't have a good enough relationship with Craig, but then it's like, well, why would you ever do that then to Paige? Why do you think you have a good enough relationship with Paige to slander her boyfriend in a text? But even if you did get that rage text off, you're just so fucking pissed because you see Hannah and Craig going in on you from both sides. Just apologize. Like you're in the wrong at that point, and he should apologize. And Amanda's not letting him off the hook. She goes, this wasn't right. Basically, everything we're saying. You know, you're trying to get Paige in the middle of this thing. Yeah, and she doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, so they all go to the beach, and not much happens because it's just Kyle is miserable. He doesn't need more stress, he's saying, and he wants to know where Paige stands. And the episode ends with him pulling her to the side. It looks like exactly where Carl proposed to Lindsay, like up the dune
They're going
a
up
little
to the
bit.
dunes.
And it ends there, so we don't get to see. I hope it goes well. I want them to hash it out.
Yeah, I hope he says I love you, Paige, and I felt like I was gonna lose you as a friend because you secretly, hate me and only tolerate me because of Amanda. Something like that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Wonderful episode of Summer House, right? Fun as hell. That's it. Anything else to say about it?
No, just no, I'm looking forward to hopefully resolution. More to come on, like, I guess it's exciting because anything that has to do with Craig involved is, we know that it's going to be unfolding over the next few months on those finales after the breakups, because I want to know what she really thinks of him now. Like, if she feels foolish for defending him, or or if she'll keep it clean and above board and say only talk about the breakup element,
Right.
not go
Yeah.
history
I
with
bet
everything.
I bet Summer House season 11, she'll have a scene with Kyle and they'll be laughing at the counter eating like chips and salsa or something, and she'll be going, "That Spritz Society shit was so fucked up," and then her and him will laugh about it, like little asides that will be tossed out.
If only Kyle were that lucky.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. So you and I, how do you feel about taking a little private jet over to talk about Beverly Hills this week's episode?
We've decided we're going to keep this one brief because frankly, this can't continue.
Yeah, this is so bad. I don't think you and I have ever said this before. This season we have, but Beverly Hills is absolutely dog shit this season. I'm so sorry.
Even with Erica's cabana makeover, it wasn't enough.
Well, let's definitely talk about that. But this episode is called Hemlines and Headlines. This shit is like,
that's pretty good.
Hemlines and headlines. Hemlines for the fashion, headlines for Mauricio making headlines. Yeah,
I feel good about that.
I do too. I love, it's like
not
caftans
really
and
funny,
caviar. No, it's not too creative. Just two H words that are.
Maybe we can come up with something better.
We'll definitely try. But I think what's wrong with Beverly Hills is that Kyle is entertaining on her own by what she's going through, but it's probably the only interesting thing that's going on this entire season, and it's also causing everyone else to talk about it to a much lesser impact or not a great level of impact. So it's like kind of a very diluted, boring season. The Sutton and Dorit shit sucks because they've always hated each other, and it was like they purposefully wanted to create a rift halfway through the season to make this shit better because it was sputtering.
Yeah.
And the only moment really that was good was Martin Lawrence Bullard pulling the blindfold off Erica and her mom and revealing the best fucking redesign I've ever seen in my life. And then the Kathy moment later. But you can't, those two scenes don't make a great episode. And it's a fucking
Not the
slog.
breast exam.
I like the breast exam. I'm okay.
I do appreciate, I've said it before because this is like the 10th time Housewives have done this. I think it's cool to put that in and always remind people, because if you've been on the fence, you're like, fuck, I got to do that. But they used it as like basically just a Kyle Kathy.
No, I like everything that's going on with Kyle, but it's like, then name this the Kyle Richards show or Kyle and her sisters, like
Kyle and her wild things.
Kyle and her wild things, like, because
oh my god! By the way, it auto played that after I was watching this, so I watched like literally 5 minutes. I was like, I can't watch this. Denise Richards says that her husband's parents and family moved into the house that they lived in, and they were supposed to live there for like 3 months, and it's been years, and so she has to rent a place, and she rents 3 homes. One is for her and her family, one is like a studio, like office, and then one is like for if her and Aaron want to be alone. Wow. And I'm like, where does she get this cash from? Like, how many residuals is she getting from whatever the hell, like, that she can own a place that have people live in there and then rent 3 places?
Yeah. Does she get any of the anger management / 2.5 Men money, or was that way earlier?
Yeah, maybe she did get a massive settlement from him.
I don't know when I don't remember when
that would be the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I never know who's rich and how they're rich, but that story of Aaron's family basically coming in and locking the door on them, so they had to
Shady-ass
get a
family.
new house. Yeah, it was I don't understand the decision to give Denise Richards her own spinoff.
I turned it off when she picked up dog shit off the floor and kind of like put it in front of the camera.
Yeah. Oh my God, that happened on the Baldwins too.
Yeah.
The minute they get to the Hamptons house, there's a big, huge dog shit in the middle of the floor.
I don't need that.
No.
I don't need to see that.
Yeah. So okay. So So
you
this,
loved Erica's place?
Yeah. Let's just skip right over to there. So there's the Kyle and Mo kissing in Greece. There's some of that talk. Let's just say what is going on. Kyle thinks that Mauricio had no clue when he stepped off that plane to go to Mykonos that he would get his photo taken of him making out with that woman. But Kyle suspects that because the paparazzi don't probably follow people to that Mykonos airport, that the girl that he's making out with had a friend or someone, or TMZ possibly called so that they could get that photo.
Right.
Because it just seems very suspicious and doesn't make any sense. And I believe them enough to know that they know how paparazzi work.
Yeah. Kathy's like, we have ways to find out who orchestrated this. She also said, she implied, that over the years there have always been rumors about Mauricio, but there have never been photos. Like there's never been evidence. And she's like, and he's not in a position financially to pay anyone off. I'm like, what do you mean? He's rich as fuck.
Yeah, isn't he like, oh my God, isn't he like so rich?
Like very rich.
The agency. So I bet Kathy was being like, so when she talks about ringy dingy, and then we're going to get to the redesign. So everybody just wait for just a second. But when she goes ringy dingy, I think she means you call TMZ, you say, I want to know who submitted that tip.
Yeah.
I want to know the name. And if you give me that, I got Paris Hilton going to a pumpkin patch and in Christmas jammies with her family outside of Target. You get both.
I raise you.
You get
a pumpkin patch.
Yes, you get both of those exclusive photos, and you tell me what the name of this person is who called the Paps,
including London and Phoenix.
You get London. Is that her two kids?
Yeah.
You get London, Phoenix, Paris Hilton, her husband in Christmas jammies outside of their house.
Who could fucking resist?
Oh my God, you have to get that.
Kyle in that moment also deletes wife from her Instagram profile because Mauricio deleted husband and father, and it just says CEO of the agency.
And are we okay with Mauricio deleting father? Did we still know that he's a father?
I became very confused in that moment.
Okay, let's get to what everyone wants to hear about. Like, we breezed through it, but now here is the meat of the episode. It's Martin Lawrence Bullard. He goes, Erica, come in your house. Take your blindfold off. Take it off right now. She goes, holy fucking shit. We look at these new rooms. Tell me what your first thoughts were when you saw this shit.
I wanted more color.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you what I realized was the Martin Bullard Lawrence special. Stripes. Bigger couches, wallpaper / what's that stuff when was it wallpaper?
Yeah.
Designed patterned wallpaper, bigger couches. You wanted more color?
Yeah.
Where?
It was pretty neutral for me, but.
And what was the big drastic adjustments you think he made?
Well, yeah, it was like new furniture. I didn't like the black stripe motif in the hallway. I thought it looked kind of cheap. And I mean, he supported her in putting Erica, the pretty mess art everywhere, which sure, fine.
Yes.
And like the cabana, I don't know. I felt like, I guess it's nice to have someone hold your hand to do a refresh because you're just like not going to do it otherwise. And it looked nice. It looked like a hotel, which is nice. But I kind of felt like, I'm like, she has taste enough that she could have done this herself.
Yeah, was it more about showcasing Martin Lawrence Bullard and then maybe getting a discount on some design? Or was it truly, because there were some scenes where when it morphed, I had to really think, what's different
I
here?
know. That's the thing. The reveal was a little lackluster.
Yeah, and then when they get to the bedroom, unfortunately, not Reba, Renee? Is that Erica's mom's name?
I
Renee.
think so, yeah.
Renee gets in there, and Martin has this huge grin on his face. He goes, "Look at this bedroom, rose gold, Hollywood palm." And then, unfortunately, Renee says, she goes, "I'm sorry, Martin. I hate to say this, but I'm a stickler for perfection, and I can see all the seams in this wallpaper." And the look on Martin's face, it was like he was shattered.
And she was like, "What's a palm?"
She didn't know what Hollywood palms were. She goes, "I'm not sure what those are." And she goes, "You need to fix those seams immediately." And then Erica kind of has a "that's my mom" moment. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, it was weird. I feel like I don't think she definitively said she could see the seams. I think she was like saying like, "I'm gonna look for them because I'm doing an inspection." You know?
Oh, okay. So it was kind of like, you can't pull anything over on me,
Yeah,
Martin
exactly.
Lawrence Bullard.
Exactly.
Okay, breast center, they talk about, like we already said, mammograms. They wish that their mom would have, like, this is, it's emotionally resonant because they wish that their mom had done this more frequently. But they're both safe and healthy at the end. But
imagine if Big Kathy was with us. Do you think that Kyle would have even been allowed to do the Real Housewives?
Everything would have changed.
Yeah.
Everything in the world, probably not.
Yeah.
I don't think so. And then it's fashion show time.
Yeah. Well, right before that,
Oh,
I'll just say I'll wrap up the Erica's mom. Just that her mom was like the opposite of Sutton's mom and said like 10 times that she was proud of Erica for
Yes.
getting through what she went through. She was like, "When I saw you got that Porsche, I was like, that's what I'm talking about."
Yeah, that was so sweet. I loved Erica's mom. She was so sweet to her. She goes, "Can I take a test spin in that thing?" And Erica goes, "Absolutely not."
Yeah.
But
And
it's-
Erica reminds us that Tom's trial is coming up. And she's like, "I want to watch as little of it as possible because it's
Yeah.
like so stressful."
And Erica also is saying, she's like, "These scenes, you think this is just about me revamping my cabana room. In fact, not. This is metaphorical. I'm revamping myself, and this is a rebirth for myself. But you're just seeing..."
Yeah. Those burgundy chairs had demons inside them that peeked out every time she looked at them.
Totally, and you can imagine, and I do love it now, and I would spend more time. I wanted to do Architectural Digest.
I would watch that.
You know what I mean?
Maybe they'll do a little featurette.
Yeah, that would be so sweet. Okay, fashion show. The Dorit and Garcelle scene was absolutely awful. They hate each other,
Yeah.
and they're never gonna get better. It's a permanent rift. And then we go to Sutton's fashion show.
Yes. It's at the what was the place called? Fuck, did I write it down? It's at that apartment complex in Hollywood that I think, correct me if I'm wrong out there, because when I saw Sheena on this episode, I had already been thinking that I think she lived at the Argyle. Sheena lived in a place just like this that's like a block down when she had that Hollywood apartment where Brock proposed, where the view was shitty because there was like construction in the background.
Yeah.
They might have been constructing this place.
Whoa. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so Sheena was there.
She's like, "I know this place." We see the run through. It's revealed Jennifer Tilly's going to walk in the show. Sutton's mom couldn't make it because of that tech outage that happened where I kind of remember that when all the computers went down. So no one could fly for like days.
Me too. What the hell was going on?
Yeah, that was like pre all of the airway disasters of 2025.
Yeah, totally.
Kyle, when she gets there, is like, "I'm not doing press." Sheena barely even talks. I wish they gave her a little bit of a moment.
I was so happy to see Sheena for a second. I wanted Sheena to have a full storyline at this fashion show, but they gave her one word, just hello.
Yeah. Sutton's like so disoriented. She's like, "I don't know where I am or what's going on."
Yeah, Kyle asked for an NA beer, and they put it in a huge beer mug. So Kyle's just at this fashion show with a gigantic beer. I thought that was so fun.
I'm always relieved that she can get those.
NA beers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
me
like
too.
so commonplace.
Yeah, I think people, every place now has at least 3 to 4 great NA options. You know what I mean? That's a huge cultural revolution for sober people.
Dorit and Kyle quickly talk about Mauricio. It's revealed that Kyle went to a Morgan Wade show, and people were saying that she did that to make him jealous. And she was like, "Well, joke's on me because he doesn't even get jealous, so fuck me."
Yeah, and I was also like, I think because Sutton and Garcelle have a moment where they're just talking shit about Kyle and about Morgan Wade and all this stuff, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't think that is what Kyle was doing to
Right.
try to
She was like, I
purposely
go to all her shows.
Yeah, I love Morgan Wade's music.
Kathy arrives. She's like, at one point she says, I think I broke my knee. And I was like, I think you wouldn't be here if you broke your knee.
Yeah, she said she was wearing a sandal and she slipped or something. And then she goes, where are the hors d'oeuvres? And everybody goes, what the fuck?
I had to rewind it like 3 times before I realized that they clarified that she was joking and meant hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, she meant hors d'oeuvres. Everybody just is kind of like, I don't know what she's talking about. Bose has to clarify what that means. And then at some point they're sitting down at the fashion show, and this is what people, this is the moment that people think about, like a Kathy moment. But Kathy goes, she's sitting with all of them. The show's about to start, and Kathy says, Dorit is so fashion oriented. I think she should have been introducing all of this and narrating the entire show. And then everyone kind of laughs at
like
her.
1 minute before it starts.
Everyone laughs at her and say, that's really stupid, Kathy. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What a dumb idea. And then they go, you should go tell Sutton that. That would really make her day. And then Kathy decides, I didn't know what the hell she was getting up to do.
She dawdles backstage, goes in through the front of the runway where the models are about to come out.
Yeah, and Sutton is about to barf. Sutton is so nervous about this. She's so...
chugging vodka.
She's so worried. And then at that moment, Kathy comes in through the curtains into this smoke-filled back room and tells Sutton that she thinks Dorit should introduce her show right now and narrate all of the fashions 1 minute before it's about to start. And Sutton is so taken aback. Again, Sutton is not good when she's being confronted about having good comebacks or anything. So she kind of just says, no, that's not what this fashion show is at all. And then Kathy has to leave immediately.
Through the runway.
But unfortunately, when Kathy left, that was at the exact moment that the show was starting behind her. So she comes out of the curtains, and then so does the first model.
She starts to lollygag and say hi to Erica's mom, like glad handing, and then she screams over to the ladies like 10 seats down, goes, she said that was very sweet of you.
Right, which is a lie.
I'm like, is she full dementia? Like, this is unacceptable.
I think that I thought so too. Well, no, I think that Kathy has no rules for her life, and she doesn't adhere to any norms of society. It was like
a full Mr. Magoo.
But I think it's purposeful now. I think that she thinks she can do anything in the world because this is how her life has been for the last 40 years. I think she's not tethered to any social norms, and that's what. And I almost thought that she was purposefully just trying to make a mockery of Sutton's show by standing in the way of models and going up and interrupting and basically doing a joke, thinking that Sutton, she knows that Sutton and Dorit have problems. She's been in enough scenes to know that this is not right. So I thought it was Kathy taking the piss out of everything a little bit.
Yeah. Who's hunky dory?
Yeah. Now I'm like, are all these Kathy antics just completely calculated and fake?
I don't know. I think she's just like truly out of her mind.
Okay. Yeah, it's quite possible. But yeah, and there's the secondhand embarrassment. I mean, you can't really, it's hard to articulate. I mean, it's right in the thick of the action. It's
felt bad for that model that had to skirt around her.
Yeah, has to kind of almost push Kathy out of her way.
She's fashion roadkill.
Yeah, and then Kyle and everyone was like, I want to leave. This is horrible. I want to die right now. I can't watch this shit. And then Kathy sits back down, and it's like, there's no repercussions for this at all. She just sits down and she goes, that was, she doesn't even say anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, it was the only like genuine chuckle I had the whole time.
Yeah.
And then we get slight shade because I mean, I was already thinking it, but I was like, what the fuck are these fashions? And Erica goes, I mean, I don't think she's destined to win a CFDA New Designer Award. And Dorit shades the collection too. But it's one of those things where I'm like, the Housewives always think that they just should have these vanity lines, and they're like always the least inspired shit you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did you do this? Like, what are these? Who are these for?
Yeah, I really don't know. I don't understand it, except to have a huge moment, on the show, and then Sutton even ties it into her overall arc on the show by saying, "My mom couldn't be here today, but I just hope to God she's so proud of me."
I know
Are
she
you
was
proud?
like crying as if this was like, I mean, whatever. I was just like, okay, like, congrats.
Yeah, and I think, on a better season and in a better episode, having this at the tail end, the last 10 minutes, like, it could be like a really fun cap to a great episode by having Kathy wander around and interrupt a fashion show. But after having to suffer through a complete slog, and the last 3 or 4 episodes being a slog, like, this was just not enough.
Yeah. I did love seeing that little photo of Garcelle at 1984 Calvin Klein runway.
I like that too, because we didn't say we were both proud of Jade, because Jade is in the fashion show. It's his first. He just became a model with, I think, LA Models. Garcelle is so proud of him, and then he gets to walk in Sutton's fashion show, and he kills it. He does a great job, and everybody's
She's so happy.
Yeah, everybody's proud of him. So, that was it.
That's that.
That's that. I don't know what Beverly Hills can do. It's almost too far along for it to shift and have anything meaningful and powerful happen. It's almost like we have to almost, write the season off. We won't. We'll keep watching, and talk about it if it continues to hopefully get better. But yeah, this is a rough season of Beverly Hills.
Yeah, it's there's nothing. I mean, I don't know. The Mauricio thing isn't enough of a jolt because they're already separated, so it's like not that exciting. If that would have happened before they separated, that could have been interesting, but it's like we've already been in a slog of like 10 episodes of her dealing with them separating, so I don't really care that much.
Yeah, quite possibly if PK and Mauricio were given full-time contracts or something and we had more of Mauricio. I'm actually proud of Mauricio he's going to be in the next episode, so he's going to have to talk about the Greek makeout, so that's interesting to me. But I think that if PK had been around to sort of add more weight to the Dorit divorce stuff.
Wow, more PK request, said no one ever.
Well, I just think that if Dorit is going to make her storyline about her separation is starting to fizzle in a way, and if it was actually a season about 2 contrasting marriages that were both falling apart in different ways.
You know who would love that?
Who?
Ben Stiller.
Oh my God! Don't get Ben Stiller started on Beverly Hills.
He talked about it on the Vanity Fair red carpet again.
He said the exact same thing. He goes, "I haven't watched any of these episodes. I kind of just
waiting for my daughter."
He goes, I go in and out of it, but wow, it was so good for 2 cast members, Kyle and Dorit, to bond over common differences. And I was like, Jesus, that's what you tweeted. Are there any more takes? Did you actually watch this show?
Yeah, it doesn't compare. Did you see, this is now a few weeks old, but John Oliver was popping off about Salt Lake, and I'm like, I want to talk to. Like, he has good takes, like in-depth takes.
Absolutely. I mean, you can tell the difference between Ben Stiller and John Oliver. Like, John Oliver has a take about absolutely everything in the Bravo universe.
Didn't he, when he was on Watch What Happens, he specifically requested being on with Dorinda?
I think so. Yeah, he's having so much fun. I love how much he loves the Bravo universe. All right, well, Beverly Hills, I don't know what the hell to do about you. I can't even give you advice. I said bring PK back. What the hell am I thinking?
PK and his wild things.
Yeah, oh my God.
You're like, I smell a spinoff.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't even workshop this thing.
No.
But
it's beyond.
It's beyond. But anyway, that's the end of Turtle Time for Amy and I. Summer House was great. Yeah. Action packed. Beverly Hills, the doldrums, the dregs of Bravo. I will say, will you give a special shout out to a little turtle cutie?
Yes. Oh my God. So we got a wonderful package of delectable delights from Cheeky Bits Sweets, a little turtle cutie, and it's toffee that we got. We got this caramel sauce, and I have to say, I almost am afraid to have it in my house. We posted on Instagram, but I'll post again. But it's so delectable that I'm afraid to have it within arm's reach. Yeah. So we wanted to shout them out.
Yeah, that was so sweet of you all. Thank you so much. I'm going to be eating that for days and have the time of my life. And then I want to say, please, if you enjoy Turtle Time, but you say, I can't no, the opposite. I want more of this Turtle Time experience. Please join us on Patreon. It's $5 a month, and you get access to Amy and I recapping Vanderpump Rules. There's probably over 100 episodes of us going through Vanderpump Rules from the very beginning. We love our Villa Rosa VIPs. We just had a very fun conversation about Jax's revelation, all on that Patreon platform, and we just have the time of our lives over there, and it just keeps coming every single week.
Yeah, you won't regret it. Rate and review us, like we always say. You can watch on YouTube, subscribe over there. But thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you all, and Amy and I are going to say goodbye to each other after this Turtle Time.
Bye.
Bye.
This one